I'm just going to give this a shot. I haven't done this in a while. I haven't recorded in camera in a while. So this is special. I've been doing a lot of guest stuff, and not videoing the call is a lot easier than trying to work out with the guest how we're going to do the video recording. Because, I mean, this seems like it would be simple, but then you've got to explain to them, like, you're going to want to be, lit, and you got to use your better camera, and you're going to want to look, however you want to look, because this is going on, going up. And it's just better to say, let's just not worry about it. So the solo endeavors, I will record myself. But otherwise, I am going to leave this as it is. Okay, I just wanted to make sure it was actually record. The record button just says record. It doesn't say recording when it's recording. And then I got nervous. I thought I was not recording. But I am recording. I'm recording in two places. I'm recording the video, and I'm recording the audio in case the audio on the video sounds like garbage. So it's all backups. My life is a series of backups. And if I tilt my head back, you can see the ring light, because even though it is 8 feet above my head, it still reflects. Why does it still reflect? Because my glasses are super thick, and they're practically half circles. They're like globes. They're so thick. So like, even if a light is way above me, it's like, no, I can reflect it, because this part of my glasses, the top part of my glasses is pretty much aimed at the ceiling, because my eyesight is terrible. These are progressive lenses. I don't notice it anymore, except sometimes when I move my head really fast back and forth, it's like the table goes, whoa. And if you're listening to this as an audio format, I was waving my hands about as if the ground were undulating underneath me. It's not interesting. It's not interesting at all. But what is this madness? And what am I talking about? And what are we doing here? And why am I here? Well, I got a little quote for you. I'm going to start off with a little quotey quote that'll probably make you feel bad about yourself. It says, "Dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God." That's from 1 John, 1 John, John 1, 1 John, 4, 7. This is a Zonderkidz book, obviously. Now I'm still getting used to this, but I have this set up so that I can do this. It takes me longer to do this than one would think. I've just got to find, there we go. I can do this. Pretend this was seamless. Yes. It's the theme song playing. Haha. I mean, I should probably had it up louder. But welcome back to Deep in Bear Country, a Berenstain Bearcast. I'm your host, Phil Gonzalez, and this week we are taking a look at a very strange book. Honestly, this is a really weird book. I read it and I was baffled by the setup, and then I was baffled by the revelation, and then I was equally baffled by the conclusion. But going way back to the beginning of Deep in Bear Country, like back to the first year I did this, we had a lot of ups and downs as far as the continuity of the storylines. We had right off the bat, several different continuities within the Bear universe. There was the original like the reader books, like the Big Honey Hunt, the Bear's Picnic, the Bear's Vacation, the Bear's Christmas, that were all set in a very I can learn how to read universe that was very slapsticky, that was just Mama, Papa, and Small Bear. We're going way back. Then we established the like very young readers universe. The notion that there was an alternate version of Bear Country that was more abstract and didn't follow the rules of beginning, middle, and end, did not follow cause and effect, really didn't follow many rules at all. And I dubbed that continuity Brother Bear's or Small Bear's dream world, the dreamscape, the dreamlands. They were kind of the world that Small Bear entered when he fell asleep at night. And they were still within continuity, but they were sort of an imaginary world. And they helped Small Bear process changes that were going on in his life. And these were books like Inside, Outside, Upside Down, Old Hat, New Hat, books like that were like They didn't call out any characters. They seemed very weird. Like Small Bear was, sort of an autonomous figure. Weird books like that. And then we got into the first time books, which were clearly their own continuity. Sister Bear was born. We had a more just sort of like grounded reality. And then we got into the chapter books. We got into the Bear Scouts books. And then we got into the Zondervan books. And these books were clearly within their own continuities because they were more plot focused, more character oriented, more story oriented. And they had continuities within themselves. They had callbacks to previous events in the lives of the bears that contradicted one another, that were clearly part of different storylines. The example I always throw out there is the chapter books versus the Bear Scouts books that have two completely different origin stories to how Grizzly Gramps and Grizzly Gran met. And put a pin in that. Because we'll get back to Grizzly Gramps and Gran because I've a listener who had a question about the origins of their names. So we'll get to that at the end of the episode. But Zondervan came along and blew everything out of the water by establishing yet another continuity. So that's where we are now. We are in the Zondervan. I can read reading books. What are these called? The Zondervan. This is a beginning reader. Living Lights, beginning reader. This is an early one. This is a Stan and Jan with Mike book. This book is from 2011, and it is the Berenstain Bears, The Trouble with Secrets. And this one is very strange. This is an odd book because it flatly contradicts character development that we've seen. It flatly contradicts the relationships we've seen between the Cubs. And it establishes that the Zondervan books, the Zonderkidz books, don't exist in the same world as the first time books at all because of the origin of a certain monument in Bear Country, in Beartown, that we are familiar with, that we have covered many a moon ago. So let's get into the story of the Berenstain Bears. I said and The Trouble with Secrets. My apologies, my great apologies. This is the Berenstain Bears the Trouble with Secrets. The Berenstain Bears, The Trouble with Secrets. Sometimes it would be the Berenstain Bears possessive S, Trouble with Secrets. Like, this is their trouble with secrets. This is the trouble that the Bears have with secrets. Sometimes it will be the Berenstain Bears and the Trouble with Secrets. Like, the Berenstain Bears and also The Trouble with Secrets. Like, we're adding on some troubles with secrets to an established universe. This is not that. This is the Berenstain Bears. The Trouble with Secrets. Like, the Berenstain Bears, yes. However, The Trouble with Secrets. I don't know what the decision-making process is for how they titled the books. I've never understood it. I don't know why sometimes we get a possessive S, sometimes we don't. I don't understand why sometimes we get an and, sometimes we don't. But this is the Berenstain Bears Trouble. The Trouble with Secrets. It also says that this is copyright 1992 and 2011, which leads me to believe this is a rewrite of a previous book. I do not remember this book. Ladies and gentlemen, if I have covered a non-God version of this book in the past is to my left, let me know. Okay? There's been a lot going on in Bear Country in the last few years, and I sometimes forget things. I am on the 320-somethingth episode of this show. But as anyone who goes through the archives will realize, it's like the 350-somethingth episode of this show because I haven't numbered every single one of them. There have been special one-offs. Enough special one-offs that the numbering is way off. I've recorded over 350 episodes of this show. I've never done 350 of anything in my life. I don't think adding all up, I've taken 350 steps. I certainly haven't taken 350 steps today. Trouble with Secrets. Let's do a little dive into this book, see if we can figure out what it's all about. Well, what it's all about is that Lizzie and Fred have noticed that sister and brother are acting weird. So this is a Lizzie Fred sister and brother book. Normally this would be a Bear Scouts book or a Bear Detectives book, but no, this is they're just friends now. Why are Lizzie and Fred hanging out together? We don't know. Why are brother and sister hanging out together? We do not know. That's kind of the plot of the book. But what's happening is brother and sister are hanging out, going off on their own, and Lizzie and Fred want to know why. They notice that brother and sister are acting a little weird, and Fred and Lizzie are put off by that. And so the second page of the story presents us with our I guess our thesis, which is this something our friends would do? Keep a secret from me and you? So we're establishing that brother and sister have a secret that they're not letting Fred and Lizzie in on. That's the title of the book, The Trouble with Secrets. And also we cannot forget our Bible verse, which is, dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God. Will this quote come into play? Love coming from God and us needing to love one another? Signs point to probably not. There's just not many quotes in the Bible about keeping secrets from your friends. Like, that's just not, it doesn't come into play much. Weren't a whole lot of secrets 5,000 years ago. Weren't a whole lot of secrets 2,000 years ago. You lived in a village. You knew what was going on. People were not keeping secrets from their best friends. Did the concept of best friends even exist in Bible times? Did people say, like, that's my best friend? Was that a thing? Or was there like some wild philosophical like idea of what friendship was? I don't know. Not looking it up, brother and sister are acting weird. So the whole plot of this book is that Fred and Lizzie, are they friends? Like, we don't really see Fred and Lizzie spending a lot of extracurricular time together. They're mostly hanging out with the other two cubs. I've never seen a book devoted to just the two of them. Fred and Lizzie wandering through the woods, and they're asking all the animals, what's up with brother and sister? Why are they hanging out together? I need to remind Fred and Lizzie right now that brother and sister are brother and sister. Like, they are brother and sister. Like, that's not just their names. They are each other's sibling. They spend time together. That's what they do. Even when they're not hanging out, they are spending time. They are usually in the same house. It's not weird for siblings to be together. Period. That's the thing I can confidently say that. It's not weird for a brother and a sister to spend time together, absent a friend and a cousin. I don't know. I think that the weird people in this book are Lizzie and Fred, but we'll get to that. So first they ask Mr. J, what's going on with brother and sister? And then Mr. J just says, screech. He must have promised that he wouldn't tell. I think that Mr. J is just a bird. We'll leave that up to the readers. But Lizzie and Fred are like, he's keeping secrets. He's keeping secrets. So they're following brother and sister, who, from the drawings, look like they're walking hand in hand. I know they're not, but it always looks like they're like arm in arm with each other. They're not. They are simply walking through the woods together. But Lizzie and Fred are very concerned about this. So next they ask Mr. Cricket, or Mrs. Cricket, my apologies. We hear Mrs. Cricket singing her song of how thankful she is that God's love is so strong. That is not what Mrs. Cricket's song is about, because as we see, she just it says, "Oh my, she's just chirping. She will not say. She will not give the secret away." And I'm like, well, she's saying chirp chirp, which is what she was saying before. So clearly, you just made up that it's a song about God. Like, it's you don't know what Mrs. Cricket is saying because she's a cricket. So again, they've asked another animal, where are brother and sister going? The animal's like, I'm an animal and I only speak my animal language. Chirp chirp. So now they're still creeping. They're creeping through. Brother and sister are acting weird. And by weird, I mean they're acting like a brother and sister. They come across Mr. Skunk. Now, we know Mr. Skunk. Mr. Skunk is an established neighbor in bear country. He moved in next door to the bears once upon a time. He smelled really bad, but he helped the cubs deal with bullies. He's popped up in storybooks now and again. He used to wear clothes, but we've seen the de-evolution of animal intelligence throughout the timeline of bear country. Obviously, the de-evolution also dovetails in the religious books. Animals are no longer able to communicate with the higher life forms, a la the bears, so the animals just be the animals. Mr. Skunk clearly has some form of intelligence because he has picked a flower, is standing on his hind legs, and is smelling the flower. But he doesn't greet the cubs with language. He doesn't say anything. He's not wearing clothes. He's not wearing a hat. He smells bad, though, so the cubs leave. As we all know, skunks don't just smell bad. They have to secrete their stink in order for that to be a thing. So Mr. Skunk is clearly telling the cubs he doesn't want them around. So they don't ask Mr. Skunk a question. Next, they come across Mrs. Frog sunning herself in Great Grizzly Bog on Great Hollow Log. It says that Mrs. Frog rivets a prayer of thanks and praise for flies and water on hot sunny days. We see no evidence of this. We see no evidence that Mrs. Frog has even opened her mouth. We see that she sees the cubs. We know that she noticed brother and sister have crossed Great Grizzly Bog and that she sees Lizzie and Fred approaching. She's not croaking. I think we're reading a lot into this. They ask Mrs. Frog, but she just eats a fly, and they're grossed out by Mrs. Frog's habits, which are the habits of a frog. Lizzie is stunned beyond belief. They move on to the next thing. They move along. Brother and sister are still looking really sly. They keep saying brother and sister are still going strong. It says, so we follow and follow and follow along. Friends, brother and sister are still going strong. I have to repeat, brother and sister are not friends. They are brother and sister. You don't have to tell us that they are friends. They're brother and sister. Still going strong. I don't know. What are they going strong at? Just walking. They're just walking through the woods. Next, they come across Mr. Croc, who is obviously malevolent because no one wants to deal with him. Even Mrs. Frog is like, I will be devoured by this crocodile. So they're getting sick and tired of chasing after their friends, following and following and following and following along. And then it says there's no need for secrets or sneaking. God made us friends. If they'd share, we'd stop peeking. And this is the wildest thing in the book, so far, thing in the book. So brother and sister are brother and sister are off by themselves. They're walking through the woods. They're all by themselves. They're not creeping around. They're just walking through the woods by themselves. They are, let us remember, brother and sister. They are allowed to do this. This is a thing that human beings, bears, are allowed to do. There is no rule in bear country that brother and sister cannot spend time alone together. All right. Fred and Lizzie see this happen. We don't know how. We don't know that Fred and Lizzie spend time together. Perhaps they showed up at the bear's treehouse at the same time to find their friends. We do not know. We're not given that backstory. All we know is that they see brother and sister going off into the woods. They decide to follow them. At this point, Lizzie and Fred are at fault, right? They could say, brother and sister, stop. It's your friends, Lizzie and Fred. Or it's your friend and your cousin who you have to hang out with, Lizzie and Fred. Stop. What's going on? They don't. Instead, they creep around after them and try to get other people to tell them what's going on. There is no need for secrets or sneaking. Brother and sister don't have a secret at this point. Only Lizzie and Fred have a secret. The secret is that they are following brother and sister and asking about them behind their back. The sneaking is entirely on Lizzie and Fred's part. Now, you might think this is the lesson we're going to learn, right? Oh, and it also says, if they just share, we'd stop creeping around. Brother and sister are under no obligation to share their secrets. Brother and sister are under no obligation to tell everybody every time they do anything. Maybe their parents, but this isn't their parents. This is their friends, one friend and a cousin. If they'd share, we'd stop peeking. Now, this seems like, hey, I wouldn't have had to spy on you if you would just have told me. That's a terrible thing to say. All right? If you went through somebody's locker at school and they were like, what are you doing? And you're like, hey, if you just told me what you had in your locker, I wouldn't have had to sneak into it. Or if you had broken into someone's locker and they're like, what are you doing? And you're like, if you had kept it unlocked, I wouldn't have had to break in. That's what this sounds like, Lizzie and Fred. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Will this following never end? And again, you don't have to follow. Is it them thinking that? Is it Lizzie and Fred thinking, gosh, will we ever be able to stop spying on our friends? Oh, but wait, brother and sister are rounding a bend. And if you're looking at the book, you can see that what we are approaching is a very familiar structure in bear country. Oh, look at that, standing right there. The secret of brother and sister bear. It's a clubhouse they made from pieces of junk. Now, longtime listeners, longtime Berenstain Bears fans will know that this is the house made from junk in the Berenstain Bears No girls allowed. This is the clubhouse made by the boys to keep the girls out. And then the girls made their clubhouse in a tree, which was much cooler than this tree house, but we rarely see that tree house again. But this is the famous tree house. Way back in episode whatever, I believe Mr. Stuart Wellington was my guest on that episode, talking about the Bears clubhouse. This is it. Now, in this book, it says that brother and sister made this clubhouse themselves from just junk they found lying around. We're in another continuity. This is not the continuity of the first-time readers. This is the continuity of Zonderkidz. Are brother and sister happy to see Lizzie? Are they happy to see Fred? Do they lower the drawbridge in anticipation of welcoming their friends with open arms? No, they get a solid pair of Berenstain Bear Cub angry eyes. Who told? Asked brother. Was it Mr. Skunk or Frog or Croc or Cricket or Jay who told you our secret and showed you the way? And brother Bear is miffed. He is TO'd. He is very... Also, I'm noticing the chimney is clearly drawn to look like it was made out of an old tin can because you see the serrated edge on the top of the can. But the can is also the size of one of the cubs. I don't know what was being kept in that can. I don't know what can opener opened that can. That's a huge can. In any case, brother and sister are very angry. This was intended to be something they did by themselves. They did not want Lizzie and Fred to be there. They wanted a clubhouse all by themselves. But Lizzie and Fred snuck around. And Lizzie's like, we just followed you. We followed you. That no one told us. We just followed you. And brother and sister are still very angry. So this is the part where the storyline has to be like, we are almost at the end of this book. Just to shift into ending gear. So it says, brother and sister look glum for a while, but being upset just isn't their style. Then they both began to smile. They were glad God blessed them with friends like Lizzie and Fred. We're glad you followed us here, they said. Is this book a rewrite? I swear I've never read this book, but this sounds like, A, the illustrations look very old. B, it looks like they've rewritten the book to shoehorn in the God stuff. This has nothing to do with God. We're glad you followed us here, they said. This is a rewrite that I missed or that I've forgotten, that I've blocked. I don't know what's going on. Please help me. We're glad you followed us here, they said. Secrets are fun, but it's more fun to share, so welcome to Brother and Sister Bear. They welcome them into their house with open arms. Now, I am going to look up I'm going to look this up because I can't live with myself if I don't find this out right now. I'm going to look this up on Brad Mariska's website. Berenstain Bears. The Trouble with Secrets. I don't see that it's based on anything. I'm on Brad Mariska's website, BerenstainBearsCollectors.com. I looked up Trouble with Secrets. It's from the same era as a bunch of the Zonderkidz books we've done. His other books say based on the books that they're based on. But this one doesn't say it's based on anything. So I'm going to look up the Cub Club series, because that's usually what these are based on. They're based on pre-existing books in the Cub Club series. Cub Club. Where are they? Cub Club. Cub Club. It's not that. It's not Get Jealous. It's not Home Sweet Tree. It's not Hug and Make Up or Learn to Share. Because Learn to Share is based on Learn to Share. Time for a fishing spot? No. Spooky Shadows? No. All year round. When did this book say it was from? I'm going to look at the front again. This book said it was from... Originally copyrighted 1992. So when is this from? Bedtime Battle? No. Baby Chipmunk? No. All Year Round? No. Visit Fun Park? No. Spooky Shadows? No. Perfect Fishing Spot? No. On Time? Learn to Share? Hug and Make Up? Home Sweet Tree? Get Jealous? No. Broken Piggy Bank? Big Red Kite? I don't know. This says it was originally published in 92. But I don't see any evidence that it was. I did all these books. I covered all these books. I'm looking at the books I covered. They're not in there. It's not in there. It's not in there. Ladies and gentlemen, what is this book based on? Or was this a Cub Club book that never got published? Is that what it was? Was this a Cub Cub book that was copyrighted but never published? I do not know. There's no evidence on the copyright page. It says it was originally copyrighted 1992. Berenstain Bears, Trouble with Secrets. Please send me information on this. I am very confused. I'm very confused. Just like Lizzie and Fred were. This is a very confusing book because Lizzie and Fred are acting out a character, brother and sister acting out a character, and the lesson is terrible. If your friends don't want to share something with you, let them have their space. This is a book about personal space. Brother and sister built a clubhouse to get away from Lizzie and Fred, their only other friends in this series. And then Lizzie and Fred won't even let them have that. Give them their space, Lizzie and Fred. Let them live. Let them just have it. The lesson is terrible. The lesson is not you have to share everything with your friends. The lesson should be when your friends choose to not tell you something, respect that. Now, I thought Trouble with Secrets was going to be something sinister, maybe. Like an adult telling you to keep a secret that you don't feel comfortable keeping, or a friend telling you to keep a secret that you don't feel comfortable keeping. That's the trouble with secrets. When a friend is like, please promise you won't tell this, but you're like, I have to tell somebody this. That's the trouble with secrets. Cousin Fred does something dangerous, or Lizzie does something that could get other people, hurt or something. And they ask their friends not to tell, but brother is like, I don't feel right keeping this a secret. Tells mama and papa. That to me is the trouble with secrets. The trouble with secrets is not our friends won't share their stuff with us. That's not the trouble with secrets. The trouble with secrets is that some secrets shouldn't be kept, particularly if an adult tells you to keep them. I don't like this book. I have trouble with this book, but I mostly have trouble with this book because why is this an older book? Please tell me what I'm missing. Please share. I'm going to look up. I'm going to do my homework between now and the next episode. So hopefully I'll have figured this out by the time you hear this, but I'm just confused. I'm confused. And what does this have to do with God? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. The quote at the beginning doesn't mean anything. The frog doesn't pray. The cricket doesn't sing songs to the Lord. They don't know that. They can't understand the language of the animals. Not even Lizzie. Doesn't make any sense. A listener, going on to listener mail. A listener asked, they said that their son was confused. They were listening to one of the episodes of this show, and I was talking about Grizzly Gramps and Gran, but I was also talking about the Great Bear War, and the son was confused because if the Grizzlies and the Bears don't get along, why are Grizzly Gramps and Grizzly Gran called Grizzly Gramps and Grizzly Gran? But they're bears. They're not called Bear Gramps or Grandpa Bear and Grandma Bear, which would make sense. You would think that would be like the answer. Oh, they're like my parents are known as Grandma and Grandpa Gonzalez to my kids. Grandma and Grandpa Gonzalez. So why aren't they Grandma and Grandpa Bear or Gramps Bear and Grandma and Gram Bear? Grand Bear. Why aren't they that? The short answer is I don't know. The long answer is, but the unsatisfying answer is because the Great Bear War was made up long after Grizzly Gramps and Grizzly Gran were created as characters, and so the word didn't have any meaning back then. And grizzly is a term for kind of just like grizzled, and they are supposed to be kind of more rural bears, a little earthier, a little more, a little more tactile bears. They feel like bears, I guess. So grizzly is a good term for it. Grizzly Gramps, Grizzly Gran. They're a little gruff, but they mean well. We're never given any answer as to why they are called that. Even as we know that Grizzly Gramps has a lot of hard feelings about the Great Bear War. Why would he keep referring to himself as that within continuity of these books? Also, we know that his name is Ernest. It's his real name. Why does he let Grizzly be his moniker? And why does Grizzly Gran go along with this? I assume that she goes along with it. I think Grizzly Gran goes along with a lot of things that Grizzly Gramps does. Not because she's a pushover, but because it's easier that way. Pick your battles, Grizzly Gran has learned over the years. Pick your battles. So Okay, let's come up with an answer. We need an answer. Like, we can't just leave this hanging. I can't leave you hanging, my listeners. I think, putting on my no prize hat. This is my no prize hat. Let's say that Grizzly Gramps and Gran were called Grizzly Gramps and Gran. Let's say that Grizzly was how? No. Yes. Small Bear, when he was a bear, couldn't say grandpa. This is the old say. He couldn't say grandpa. He made a noise like grandpa. He couldn't say grandma. He made a noise that sounded like Grizzly. Now, Mama and Papa thought this was hilarious because Grizzly Gramps hates the Grizzlies. So they let it stick because they thought, hey, if he hears Grizzly coming out of the mouth of his beloved grandchild and later on his other beloved grandchildren, maybe this will soften him to the word grizzly, so he doesn't react so violently every time he meets a bear from the Grizzly clan. That's my answer. So Grizzly Gramps and Gran are called Grizzly Gramps and Gran because it is the name. Because it is the name of Grizzly Gramps' ancestral enemies. Because he has to hear his grandchildren call him Grizzly. And it's so that he can start seeing it as not a negative. That's it. That's my confusing no prize answer. What do I win? Absolutely nothing. But that's it. That's my answer, and I'm sticking with it. I hope it worked for you, listener in listener land. But that is the Berenstain Bears' trouble with secrets. Can you buy it? Yes, you can buy it digitally. I think it's available digitally. I know it's available digitally. I don't know if it's available in a hard copy. I think, let's see, Berenstain Bears. I should have done this off mic. Trouble with Secrets. The Berenstain Bears Trouble with Secrets. It is available as an ebook. It looks like you can buy it in hardcover. New, I guess. Yeah, you can still buy it in hardcover, but it's cheaper as an ebook, and it looks fine. And the ebook layout is obviously just like the regular book layout. There's no real difference. I again need to know if this book is based on a pre-existing book. The comments on Amazon, people like it. They like that it was delivered on time. To them. One person had the same issues that I do, that you should be grateful that your friends are stalking you. One person said they accidentally bought the book, but it's boring and a waste of money. But I think that reader was not. I think that reader is a child because it's very poorly written. And a lot of people like it. I'm going to cut this. This is dumb. Why am I even reading? I'm just reading Amazon reviews. People like this book. Is it cute? I don't know. Will you like it? Who's to say? I'm going to cut all this. I'm cutting all this from the audio version. So if you're watching this video, congratulations. You're getting some bonus stuff. But thank you so much for listening. If you're watching, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for putting up with me. I don't have anything else to say. You can find me on BerenstainBearcast.org. You can find me at BStainBearcast on Twitter. You can find me on Facebook at Deep in Bear Country. I don't post much there, but I do post the episodes there. And if you want to comment on them, you can comment there. I get my usual commenters on the WordPress page, which is funny. I find it very charming. There are 2 or 3 people who are regular commenters on WordPress. I do read them all. It's an interesting world in the WordPress world. But just know that you are seen and you are read. Just don't get spicy on there. I don't need spicy. I don't mind contentious. Just don't get spicy. This is a family show. And for everyone else who's not spicy and everyone, just be I don't care what you do in the privacy of your own homes. Be spicy. I don't know. It's 2022. The world is... I don't even know what the world is anymore. But I'm here. I'm surrounded by my toys. I've got a loving family. I've got my listeners. And I'll see you all next time. Deep in... Hold on, I got to pull up my cue. Bear Country. Loud. It's too loud. Hold on, let's put it on too loud. I mean, it's just too loud. It's just too loud. I'm very sorry.